This episode starts with a thunderstorm. Johnny is complaining about staying in and teases Ben, and now they are fighting. Susan warns them to knock it off after she hears a loud stud. She goes outside and they go outside as well, and all of them are confused. Reed shows up to let them know that it has nothing to do with him and his experiment in the lab. The loud stud continues as Reed's system warns them that they have a visitor. The elevator opens and Namor appears, hurt and faints immediately. Susan rushes to his side to make sure he is okay. Later, they put him in a fish tank. Ben and Johnny feed him like a literal fish, but he is angry now and breaks the fish tank. Susan and Reed arrive at the messy scene and try to contain him, but he attacks Reed, and Susan stops him immediately and asks him, is he here to only fight them? He disagrees and explains his situation, where his own army betrayed him, went against him, and kicked him out. Another barbarian rival of Atlantis took over, and he is now the king. Johnny and Ben mock him for seeking help, but Namor refuses to admit and tells them he only came to warn them about the situation and how they are planning to invade the surface world, and particularly their own city. Reed talks some sense in him and how they might need his help, manipulating him so he won't feel like a loser, and asks him to take them to Atlantis to help them better understand the threats. Namor agrees to take them. Johnny is afraid to go under the water because of what happened last time. The Fantastic Four head to Atlantis with Namor, and they dive in and leaves Johnny behind, but it starts to rain, and it puts him out, and he is now facing a monster from the sea. Back to the rest of the team, and Namor. They are shocked by the amount of soldiers of the army. Namor wants to attack them alone, but Susan stops him. Reed decides they slip in and talk directly to the new ruler of Atlantis, and Namor refuses and calls it a stupid idea. Reed mocks him as the no longer ruler and fights. Susan makes the ship invisible and slips in as agreed, and the soldiers can't notice them. Back to Johnny being all alone and fighting the sea monster, trying to assure the people of Manhattan. The monster tries to splash Johnny with water, and it eats him instead, but Johnny manages to break through and hits him with a flame. Meanwhile, the soldiers in Atlantis are scaring the civilians under the sea, and Namor appears all of a sudden and fights with them. The rest of the team also fight with the soldiers. Namor breaks in where the new ruler is staying and orders him to leave the people of Atlantis alone. Reed tries to calm him down, but the new ruler warns them and unleashes his sea monsters against them. On the other hand, Johnny is struggling to fight the monster with all this rain in the city, but manages to return to the building. The monster arrives to the building, and Johnny takes the plane and orders the system to distract him but fails, and the monster is now tailing Johnny. However, Johnny decided to take this fight down to the sea and dives in with the monster, but gets interrupted by the several soldiers. The rest of the team and Namor fight with the sea monsters, as the new ruler laugh at them in arrogance. Johnny is trying to lose the monster behind him. The new ruler and Namor fight, but surprises him with his supporters, his own people. The new ruler gives the Fantastic Four two options. Either they help Namor or save their city from his wrath. Reed refuses and tells him they will continue helping and fighting, and then tells Susan to hit all of them, and she takes his supporters with an invisible bubble. As Namor was ready to capture him, a big octopus appears and attacks all of them. Johnny enters the place where they are all at and brings the monster that was tailing him along, and the big octopus immediately flees. The new ruler was trying to get his tool. Reed stops him and takes it away, and Namor takes it from him to stop the mess, and the monsters immediately leave. Namor thanks all of them, and they return back to the surface after saving the day. Reed is trying to replace something in the building with the help of Ben and Susan. Apparently, it's a new security system, but they are interrupted by their plane, a new look that Johnny made for it, and again they get interrupted by a version of Iron Man this time, and Ben almost falls down, but Susan saves him. The rest of the team fight with the low version of Iron Man after he destroyed their new security system. They were just changing. Reed looks it up and confirms he is not Iron Man, but only like a bodyguard. They continue fighting, and they are wondering why would Tony Stark send his bodyguard after them. Susan hits the Iron Man, and his head falls off. They are cornered by several versions of Iron Man as well. They are now attacking all of them. The fight sure is intense. Reed heads back to his lab and another version goes after him. Reed tries to figure it out but is getting interrupted with no luck. But all of a sudden, they all decide to leave. The rest of the Fantastic Four go back to the lab and ask Reed what is happening. He explains to them what happened and decides to go to meet Tony Stark himself. Reed's system is anxious that Reed might replace him with one of Stark's systems, as Tony Stark discusses something in the meeting room. The Fantastic Four interrupts and asks him about what happened, but he thinks they are joking, while Reed is being all serious. The rest of team are distracted by the things that Stark owns. Reed scolds him, but Tony disagrees that this is not possible and takes them underground to show them where he keeps his other versions of Iron Man. But the place is empty, and a warning goes off and a Doom bot appears, and Reed introduces this threat to Tony, and who is Dr. Doom. The entire city is hit with some kind of an earthquake after the Doom bot hits the entire place where Iron Man keeps his things. Ben and Susan try to keep the building from falling, and they are frightened, as Tony turns into Iron Man thinking he is the bad one. As they get out safely, Iron Man tells them that their assistance is no longer required, and he will take care of Doom himself because he stole his own things. The Fantastic Four try to talk some sense into him to let them help him. But of course, Tony is as arrogant as his machines. Reed decides to go after him as well and asks his system to locate Iron Man's location. Moving on to Doom's place, where Iron Man is fighting with his several versions of himself, the Fantastic Four arrive and help him as well. The entire version fall to the ground, and they look at each other in confusion of what happened, and Dr. Doom appears to let them know that it was him behind all that, and shows them his new suit, the Iron Man suit, and starts to control Iron Man himself. Iron Man starts to fight with the Fantastic Four. He has no control now over his own suit, and he is attacking every one of the Fantastic Four. He is trying to warn them not to fight back so they can be safe, but they refuse. Reed holds Iron Man and asks his system to access Stark's mainframe or something to be able to disable this control. On the other hand, Ben and Johnny are fighting with Dr. Doom, and he warns them that they have no chance against him. Iron Man breaks free from Reed and starts to attack them, but Susan is holding him from now until Reed's system can access Iron Man's armor, and it was a success. Reed tells Iron Man that they need a plan to avoid being controlled again. Reed approaches, and as Doom was ready to hit Reed, Iron Man takes the hit and takes his power back. Doom's armor is destroyed. Iron Man takes his versions back and thanks the Fantastic Four for helping him. I really liked these two episodes. Namor coming back was something I was hoping for, and for the Fantastic Four to unite with them and ask them for their help was really a perfect bond. As for the second episode, Tony Stark's armor's attacking them. This is the action I was waiting for. Overall, these two episodes highlight how you can ignore your arrogance and ask for help. This brings us to the end of today's video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel to get more videos like this one. Your support helps us grow. And tell me, what do you think of these two episodes? Do you think Namor will be visiting the surface more often? If the Fantastic Four can have multiple versions like Iron Man, which one would you choose? Let me know in the comments below. I read all of them. And if you're watching till now, thank you. I'll see you in another video soon.